college fund is, really wishful thinking in a lot of cases. Like I always called Caden's money I put aside for him a college fund. Zyler's fund I always called bail money. Hey everybody, welcome to Shooting the Shit with Yankee. As always, I'm Yankee, so let's start shooting. Today's topic is one that might be a little confusing. You might have to think about it for a second. But what I want to know is, for you, in your circumstances, what is the largest caliber you think you can carry safely without putting yourself in legal jeopardy? You're entering into a gray zone when you carry too big a caliber that someone might use against you. They might actually say, hey, that caliber choice is, over the top because of where you live. You don't need the 454 Casull. So you are obviously showing intent to obliterate your target, not just stop it. We've seen arguments like that in court. You didn't intend to stop your threat. You intended to murder it. You didn't want to just stop the person. You wanted to obliterate them. We see that. So what do you think is the largest caliber that you, in your circumstances, can carry without entering that murky legal area? Now, my circumstances are that I live in a place where I have bear in my yard every day. We've got elk right across the hill. I can possibly run into big animals. So I feel safe carrying a 454 Casull anytime I want. And really, if you go much bigger than that, you're not getting into murky legal territory, in my opinion. You're getting into, can I actually shoot it? So of the calibers I can actually handle and shoot, 454 or 460, I can go all the way up to those. And I would feel totally comfortable defending myself in court saying, hey, every time I walk out my door, I might get mauled by a bear. It's not going to happen. Bears don't tend to maul you, not for no reason especially. So I'm not too worried about it, but it could happen. So I would have justification for carrying that caliber if a prosecutor, an overzealous prosecutor, wanted to make an example out of me. If I lived like in the city and never, like if I lived in New York and never ventured outside of a 6-block radius, well, I'd have a little more trouble justifying that larger caliber. So circumstance does have something to do with it. Now, I am going to say, as long as your shoot is good, as long as there's no question of should you have been in the situation you were in, was your reaction to the threat appropriate, and was, your judgment good when you decided that you were going to carry a gun and you were going to carry it in that area, all the things that you're going to have to think about. Did you start the fight? And it escalated to where you used your gun, well, then you're probably going to face some charges. Were you somewhere you knew you were going to get in trouble and you chose to go there and carry a gun? Well, you might face some gray area legally. But if you're just out doing your regular daily stuff and someone else becomes a threat to you and you use your firearm, chances are you're not even going to face any prosecution, no matter what caliber you use. It's when there's questionable circumstances. So try to avoid those questionable circumstances, and then caliber doesn't really matter. But just in case you find yourself in an area where there is some gray area, maybe you don't normally go to that part of town, and the prosecutor is going to try to say you didn't go there just because you wanted to try out the new restaurant. You wanted to go there because you thought you were going to get in trouble, and you knew you were going to have a way out of it. So that's the question I'm asking everyone. That's my answer. Let's hear what other people in the live chat have to say. Ramon D1776 says, everybody knows Phil can carry up to 50 legally. Well, Phil can carry whatever he wants. Phil can carry missile launchers, or Phil can toss thermonuclear devices like they're chiclets at people. He can do what he wants. He don't need them, though. I mean, why do you need a weapon? Well, he carries guns. I don't know what caliber they are. They look like a Smith & Wesson 686 and a Beretta 92 and an AR, but considering he's as big as all existence and he's carrying those things, what would the bore be on a gun that's bigger than the known cosmos? It's got to be measured in light years. His bore would be measured in light years easily. Like he's carrying a semi-automatic that's 80 light years bore, and then he's carrying a revolver that's 140 light years bore. It's going to really be kind of out of whack from what we usually do. Gummy Wuzzle says, I want 50 Beowulf in a J-frame. I don't think you're going to get that. So I don't think that's a legitimate answer. So I'm going to say meh to that answer. Even though it is just an opinion question, I still want to say to that answer. Don't make me do it again. It makes my throat hurt when I do that. Edgar Cortez says, I suppose you could carry a 50 cal, but for me, the largest practical EDC is 40 cal or 10 millimeter. Well, even 10 millimeter, got fish in some trouble. He got out of it later, set a precedent that caliber is not that important when it comes to these things, that if the shoot is good, the caliber doesn't matter. That's a good precedent to have on the books. But 10 millimeter is still not weak. That's a good carry caliber. Excuse me. Like if you lived in, let's say you lived in England. Well, then it'd be hard to justify carrying anything bigger than 22 because everybody over there is all real frail and porcelain. They go down easy. You just say a crossword to someone and they're like, oh, I'm hit. And they go down. So it's circumstantial. JJ, I don't know who JJ is. Anything than what your local police carries is a risk. Now, that's something I've heard people say before. I don't know if I believe it's true. I don't know if that holds any legal weight, but it is a metric that a lot of people will use when they choose what caliber they're going to carry. They say, my local police carry 40, so I'm carrying 40. Some people will even try to find out what ammo they actually use, and that's what they'll carry. And they feel that gives them a foot up in court. Of course, the biggest foot up is just don't never shoot nobody. And if you do, make sure it was necessary and don't put yourself at risk you don't need to be at, but still got a plan. Gummy Wuzzle said, I would carry 10 millimeter or 44 mag or less, I guess. Well, 44 mag or less, so not much more than 44 mag. I mean, you can get 454 Casull, 460. They do make revolvers in like 45-70, but you ain't freaking carrying it. If you shoot it, I feel more sorry for you than the person you shoot at. Because you're probably going to miss them with that gun because you're probably going to be terrified to shoot it and it's going to break your wrists. Not that I'm saying Gummy Wuzzle has little frail wrists, but he's a teddy bear. How strong a wrist can a teddy bear have? Mike D says 45 ACP. They can't argue with over 120 years of usage. Well, you can say the same thing about bazookas then. They've been around for a long time. Either a 357 or 44 for where I live in South Central Missouri. Tim Allen. I keep forgetting he lives in Missouri. What's her name's from Missouri? Comedian. Kathleen Madigan. She's from Missouri. She does some funny routines about that, especially about the Civil War, being from Missouri. Paul B said 10 millimeter or 357 Magnum. The 357 and 10 millimeter seem to be a popular choice for people. Well, I guess revolver and semi-auto. That's Paul B. Ramon D 1776 says, I will never carry a BB gun. Well, if you were living in like France, that would be good. Because that would definitely take down anybody in France. You ever seen the people in France, the men in France? It'll take them down. Because it stings. They'd be like, oh, it stings. Flump. Pass out. Boposaurus says, I'm going to keep my PX4 Storm instead of getting a Keltec. My uncle says Europeans can't make good guns, but I don't think he knows what he's talking about. He does not. Thanks for answering my question yesterday. Your uncle is a moron. And that doesn't have anything to do with the topic today, but I should have saved that for later, shouldn't I? Since Washington is turning into North California and I live in urban, I live in an urban. You look like an urban. I carry a 357. It's probably the biggest I would get away with. It's a good choice. I mean, 357, what's that not going to take care of? Unless, of course, if you run into a polar bear at the bus stop. And I would still say it will still take down a polar bear at the bus stop. It might not be able to take down 2 polar bears. So you'd still be at risk if you're facing multiple polar bears or moose. But one, I think even with a 357 Magnum, you'd still be good. And here's the thing. If you shoot the first one in the face and then rub his blood all over you and dance around, the other polar bears will run away, I think, because they think you're crazy. Johnny Mandrick says 9mm, we can't be allowed to hurt people in Washington. That's true. That's why you want to shoot 9mm at them. Now, like I say, in Europe, that'd be a devastating round. But here, most of the people are pretty sturdy. So, I mean, you're going to slow them down, make them mad. So that's why a lot of people in Washington carry 9mm. You don't want to get in trouble for hurting nobody. Let's see here. We got one more thing coming in here. We got 2 more. Gummy, because Go Shadow decided not to wait till the end and try to mess me up. Gummy Wuzzle said a chance incident is one thing, but if you confront someone with your 500 Smith & Wesson, a lawyer might have fun with that. Well, they might, especially if you confront someone with it. But even then, you would have an argument if you're confronting someone who's a threat. Now, not to intimidate someone from being a physical threat, but if you're someone who's actually like they break a beer bottle and they're coming at you, and you pull out your 500 Smith & Wesson and they like, oh, I don't want any of that, and they back down, and then they try to sue you for that. Well, you would not be in trouble because you used your weapon in a way to intimidate, but not intimidate unjustly. You weren't brandishing, because brandishing requires to be unjust intimidation. Like you have to be the aggressor. So even then, I think you'd be covered because you didn't shoot them. You just used the gun to its best use without actually harming anyone. And the fact it was bigger made that more likely to work. So I don't even know where we would. Good lawyer would probably make a case either way there. And finally, we got Go Shadow chiming in, says all 45 caliber, 460, 454, 45 Colt. Well, 45 Colt, most people wouldn't even think that's very powerful, although it can be very powerful. I just don't think a lot of people would think it would be. 454 Casull, 460, those are the big ones. But that's it for us today. I think that's the last person weighing in. So I want to thank everybody for coming. I want to thank everybody for participating here. How about you out there in YouTube land? What do you think you would answer this question? What's the largest caliber you think you'd be safe carrying without entering into that murky legal territory? Let me know in the comment section below. And if you want to weigh in on one of these topics in person, come to the live chat. We do them every night at 6 p.m. You can weigh in on the topic of the day. And then if you stick around immediately after this, we always do, well, not always, we usually do an open chat to where we'll answer whatever questions you got. So come on in, ask whatever you want to ask. Hope to see you at a live chat soon. Until then, remember, always carry and stay safe until I see you again.